Look at him, bread and Fanta.
The laughter started before she even reached him.
I am proud of you.
It came from behind her, loud enough to cut through the noise of the construction site. Look at her. She actually brought him food again. Can you imagine? A beautiful woman like that, carrying bread and a bottle of orange drink to a construction worker. Another burst of laughter followed. But she didn't turn around. She kept walking. In her hands were a simple loaf of bread and a bottle of orange soda. Nothing expensive. Nothing impressive. Just a small meal she had bought on her way to the construction site. And at the far end of the dusty road stood the man everyone was laughing at. His clothes were stained with cement. His arms were covered in dust. His boots were worn. His face was tired from hours under the afternoon sun. To everyone watching, he looked like exactly what they believed him to be. A poor construction worker. But there was something none of them knew. The man they were mocking had spent years hiding one of the biggest secrets in that entire city. And the woman walking toward him was the only person who knew that there was much more to him than the clothes on his body. She smiled when she saw him. "Hey," she called softly. He turned. The tiredness on his face disappeared immediately. "You came?" She nodded. "I brought you something to eat." He looked at the bread and orange drink in her hands and laughed softly. "You didn't have to." "I know." She held them out. "But I wanted to." He took them from her. For a moment, they simply looked at each other. Then she reached up and wiped a little dust from his cheek. "You've been working too hard." He smiled. "I have to." "You're going to collapse one of these days." "I won't." "You always say that." "And I'm still standing." She laughed. Behind them, another voice broke in. "Standing? He's lucky she's standing beside him." Everyone laughed again. This time, she turned. Her expression changed. A group of well-dressed people stood several meters away. They weren't workers. They had arrived in expensive cars, dressed in designer clothes and jewelry that looked completely out of place at the construction site. Among them was her mother. Her older brother. Her uncle. And several relatives who had never hidden their disapproval of her marriage. Her mother folded her arms. "So this is what you married?" The woman said nothing. Her husband looked down. Her brother laughed. "Honestly, I still don't understand what she saw in him." Another relative pointed at the man's dusty clothes. "Look at him. He's covered in cement." Her mother shook her head. "You could have married a businessman." The woman tightened her grip around her husband's arm. "I married my husband." Her mother stared at her. "Your husband?" "Yes. He has nothing." The woman looked at the man beside her. Then she smiled. "He has me." The laughter stopped for a moment. Her mother looked almost offended. "Love doesn't pay bills." The woman answered quietly. "Neither does money make a person good." Her brother stepped forward. "Don't be dramatic. We're trying to save you from embarrassment." She frowned. "Embarrassment?" He gestured toward her husband. "You're standing here carrying bread and soda for a construction worker." The husband finally spoke. "That's enough." His voice was calm. Not angry. Not defensive. Just tired. Her brother laughed. "What are you going to do?" The construction worker looked at him. "Nothing." "Exactly." The man turned away. His wife immediately followed him. "Come on," she said. They began walking away. But her family wasn't finished. Her uncle shouted after them. "You'll regret this marriage." The woman stopped. She turned around. "Maybe." Her family smiled, thinking they had finally gotten through to her. Then she continued. "But if I ever regret something, it won't be loving him." And she walked away. That night, her husband sat quietly at the edge of their small apartment. She was cooking. He watched her from across the room. "You didn't have to defend me today." She turned around. "Yes, I did. They're your family. And you're my husband." He lowered his eyes. She walked toward him. Why are you so quiet? Because sometimes I wonder if I'm making your life harder. She sat beside him. You're not. They look at you like you made the biggest mistake of your life. She smiled. Did I? He looked at her. She leaned against his shoulder. No. He held her hand. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Then he quietly asked. If you knew everything about me, would you still say that? She looked up. What do you mean? He hesitated. Nothing. She studied his face. You're hiding something from me. He smiled. Maybe. What? Nothing bad. Then tell me. Not yet. She frowned. Why? Because I want you to love me for me. She stared at him. I already do. He looked away. And that was the problem. She already loved him. She had loved him when she thought he had nothing. She had loved him when everyone told her to leave. She had loved him when he had only one pair of good shoes. She had loved him when he came home smelling of cement and sweat. She had never once asked him how much money he had. She had only asked whether he was okay. And that was exactly why he had chosen her. The next morning, something unexpected happened. The construction site was unusually busy. Several black luxury vehicles arrived. Workers stopped what they were doing. People began whispering. A group of executives stepped out of the cars. One of them walked directly toward the construction worker. Sir. The man stopped. Not here. The executive lowered his voice. Sir, we need your signature. The construction worker looked around. Later. The executive hesitated. But the board is waiting. I said later. The executive nodded. Yes, sir. Then he walked away. The workers stared. One of them whispered. Why did that businessman call him sir? Another shrugged. Maybe he's just being respectful. Nobody thought much of it. Except one person. A man standing across the road had noticed everything. And he immediately made a phone call. Sir, we found him. A pause. Yes. He's still working at the construction site. Another pause. No, sir. He hasn't told anyone. The man looked toward the construction worker. Not even his wife. That afternoon, the woman returned to the construction site. She carried the same simple bread and orange soda. But before she could reach her husband, she noticed something strange. There were expensive cars everywhere. Her husband wasn't working. He was standing in the middle of the site talking to several men in suits. She stopped. One of the men opened the door of a black luxury vehicle. Sir, please. Her husband shook his head. I'll come later. The man looked uncomfortable. Sir, this isn't something we can keep delaying. Her husband finally sighed. Fine. Then he turned. And saw his wife. Their eyes met. She slowly walked toward him. What is happening? He said nothing. Who are these people? Still nothing. One of the executives looked at her. Then looked at him. Should we tell her? The husband closed his eyes briefly. No. His wife frowned. Tell me what? The executive stepped forward. Ma'am. The husband immediately stopped him. I'll explain. She looked at her husband. You said you were working here. I am. She pointed at the luxury vehicles. And those? He didn't answer. She looked at the men in suits. And them? Still nothing. Her voice became softer. Who are you? The entire construction site seemed to go silent. He looked at her. And for the first time, the secret he had protected for so long was about to come out. Before he could speak, a loud horn sounded. A convoy of black vehicles entered the construction site. Everyone moved aside. The first vehicle stopped. The rear door opened. An older man stepped out. The executives immediately stood straight. Good afternoon, Chairman. The construction worker looked at him. Why are you here? The older man smiled. Because you've ignored my calls for 3 weeks. His wife looked confused. Chairman. The older man looked at her. Then smiled. So you're the wife? She stared. Yes. He nodded. Now I understand why he refused to come back. Her husband sighed. Please don't. The older man laughed. You've been hiding your marriage too. The woman looked at her husband. Marriage? The man stopped smiling. He realized what he had just said. The woman whispered. What does he mean? Her husband finally looked at her. I was going to tell you. Tell me what? He took a deep breath. I don't work for this company. She stared. Then why are you here? He looked around the construction site. Because I wanted to experience the life of the people who work for me. She blinked. What? The older chairman stepped forward. Your husband isn't a construction worker. He looked at the dusty man. He owns the construction company. Silence. The woman's mouth fell open. The workers around them froze. The man who had spent months carrying cement and mixing concrete suddenly became the center of everyone's attention. The older man continued. And not just this company. He looked at the executives. He owns the entire development group. Her husband lowered his head. His wife couldn't speak. You're. She struggled to find the words. A billionaire? He nodded slowly. Yes. She stared at him. Then she looked at the dusty clothes. The old boots. The worn helmet. The bread she had been carrying. She almost laughed from disbelief. You let me believe you were poor. He stepped closer. I never told you I was poor. She stared at him. You never told me you were rich either. I know. Why? He looked into her eyes. Because I wanted to know whether you loved me when I had nothing. She was silent. Then tears filled her eyes. You could have trusted me. I was afraid. Of me? Of losing you. She looked at him for several seconds. Then she slapped his arm lightly. You are unbelievable. He smiled. She started laughing through her tears. You made me carry bread to a billionaire. The workers laughed. Even the executives smiled. Then she suddenly became serious. You know what? He looked at her. I don't care. About what? The money. She stepped closer. You could have been a billionaire or a man with $10 in his pocket. She touched his dusty shirt. This is the man I married. He smiled. And for the first time in months, he looked completely relieved. But the story didn't end there. Because the next people to discover his identity were the very people who had mocked him. Her family had heard the news. They arrived at the company's headquarters the following morning. The same brother who had laughed at his clothes stood nervously in the lobby. Her mother couldn't stop looking around. Everything belonged to him. The building. The cars. The company. The people walking around with tablets and expensive suits. Then the elevator doors opened. He stepped out. Not in construction clothes this time. He wore a perfectly fitted dark suit. But he still had the same face. The same calm expression. The same man her daughter had married. Her mother stood. Son. He walked past her. Then stopped. Good morning. She smiled nervously. We came to congratulate you. He nodded. Thank you. Her brother stepped forward. I always knew you were going somewhere. The billionaire looked at him. No, you didn't. The man's smile disappeared. You laughed at me. The brother lowered his head. You called me a nobody. Silence. You told my wife she had married beneath her. Her mother began to cry. We were wrong. He looked at them. Yes. Nobody spoke. Then his wife walked into the room. She stood beside him. He took her hand. Her mother looked at them. You're happy. The woman smiled. Very. Her mother nodded slowly. I don't know how we got you so wrong. The woman looked at her. You didn't get me wrong. She glanced at her husband. You just judged him before you knew him. Her mother wiped her tears. Can you forgive us? The billionaire looked at his wife. She squeezed his hand. He looked back at her family. I can forgive you. Her brother looked relieved. But I'll never forget how you treated her because you thought I was poor. The room went quiet. Then he turned toward his wife. Come on. They walked away together. Months later, something beautiful happened. The construction site where everyone had once mocked him became the location of a new project. A massive community housing development. Thousands of affordable homes. Schools. Clinics. Markets. And jobs for people who had once been ignored. During the groundbreaking ceremony, his wife stood beside him. The same people who once laughed were now watching from the crowd. He stepped toward the microphone. This project is not about showing people how much money I have. He looked toward his wife. It's about remembering what it felt like when people thought having little meant being little. The crowd applauded. He continued. I spent months working alongside ordinary people because I wanted to remember something. He paused. Money can buy comfort. He looked at his wife. But it cannot buy loyalty. She smiled. It cannot buy genuine love. The crowd became silent. And it definitely cannot tell you who will stay when everything you have is gone. He reached for her hand. My wife stayed. The applause erupted. She looked at him with tears in her eyes. And somewhere behind the crowd, her mother smiled. Because now she finally understood. Her daughter had never married a poor man. She had married a good man. The billionaire identity was simply the part everyone else finally noticed. And years later, whenever someone asked him why he had spent so much time pretending to be a construction worker, he always gave the same answer. I wasn't pretending to be poor. He would smile. I was trying to find out who could love me without knowing I was rich. Then he would look at his wife. And I found her. Because sometimes the greatest test of love isn't what someone will do when you have everything. It's what they will do when they think you have nothing.